All these cookies were made with one recipe, so it's a keto magic cookie recipe. Let's go. This cookie recipe is super fun to try and play around with because you get different results depending on what you do with it. For example, if you roll the dough into balls, you get a thick, gooey in the middle cookie, and if you flatten it a little bit, you get a reasonably sized, it's not completely flat, beautiful cookie. Now, of course, you can see I've been playing a lot with this recipe. I've added a 1/4 cup of peanut butter, organic peanut butter. I've made a sugar-free jam and added it to the top. It's got nuts. There's a plain chocolate chip cookie. It goes on and on.
You didn't say my favorite flavor.
This one is made with orange zest, a tablespoon of freshly squeezed orange juice, and I added the orange juice because this is a zero net carb cookie, so I felt like we have a little bit of freedom to add little bits and pieces of carb-like foods. Now, I don't know what you would call orange chocolate in your country, but down under we call it Jaffa. Here in the southern part of the world, Jaffa flavor is very popular and one of my husband's favorites.
I don't know what you call it, but I call it heaven on a plate.
This recipe is not my own. It's actually by Danielle Graves, who had this recipe, non-keto style, featured in a recipe cookbook, and she ketofied it and she said, Mel, share it with everyone. It's such a great recipe and I think you're gonna love it too. And the amazing thing is that it only takes 15 minutes to make, a couple of minutes to mix everything together. The hardest thing will be choosing your flavors, and bake for about 8 to 10 minutes and then let them cool and they're ready. Without further ado, the nutritional information and your shopping list is listed in the description box, and let's get into the recipe now. Preheat the oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius. Then grease a cookie sheet or baking tray with baking or parchment paper and set that aside. For the first set of cookies, I added a 1/2 cup of the CK Almond Flour Blend to a bowl, and next a 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda. Now for the sweetener, if you want to use a white sweetener, you will need to add 75 grams and a pinch of salt, and then mix that together until fully combined. Oh wait, you can prepare the dry ingredients in advance and you will have a boxed cookie mix. Just add the wet ingredients when you're ready to bake. For the wet ingredients, add a 1/4 cup of melted butter that's been cooled, or use a keto approved oil, 1 tablespoon of egg white, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract or vanilla bean paste. For these cookies, we are making orange chocolate or Jaffa cookies. So before we mix it all together, add a teaspoon of orange zest to the bowl. Add a tablespoon of pure natural orange juice. Mix that together until combined, and you can do this if you want a lemon flavored cookie too. Each cookie needs to weigh about 30 grams each, so separate out the dough appropriately and you should get 8 cookies out of this variation of the recipe. See how I'm flattening each cookie? You would do this if you want to garnish the cookies with chocolate chips or jam or nuts and such, because if you roll it into a ball, they're not going to stick on the cookie right. As you can see, I coated the surface with a little orange zest and chopped 90% chocolate and bake that for about 10 minutes. Please do check them at the 8-minute mark. They need to have slight browning on the edges and they will be soft in the middle. Do let them cool after baking because they are very soft when warm. And now you can see the results when you bake flat, round discs of dough with this recipe. The cookies are large, but not thin. We are going to test this recipe in the air fryer for this next variation, but first I'm preparing a raspberry jam, sugar-free of course. I added a 1/4 cup of chopped raspberries to a pan and let that heat up over a medium heat. I'm using a tablespoon of the sweetener from my ingredients to sweeten the raspberries and combine that, and my jam took just a few minutes to make. While my jam is cooling, take a look at the recipe from a close-up view, just so you know what to expect in terms of texture and color if you're using the CK Almond Flour Blend. You can also roll out the dough between 2 sheets of paper and use cookie cutters if you wish. First, I spread my jam over the sheet of dough and sprinkle chopped pistachio nuts. And sure, you can use cookie cutters if that would make life easier for you. Gently place the cookies in the air fryer and space them at least 1 inch apart because they do expand. My temperature is set yet again to 350 Fahrenheit or 176 Celsius, same as the oven, and do bake them for 4 minutes on each side rather than what I did, which was 8 minutes total without turning them over. So you will see that these cookies are a little overbaked on the one side. If you bake for 4 minutes, turn them over and bake for another 4 minutes, you'll get a way better result. Of course, we have to make choc chip cookies. However, for this variation, we are testing the CK blend made with half almond flour and half chicken flour, so we can lower those carbs. Other than that, the recipe is the same. We just mix together, then add a half cup of sugar-free chocolate chips or chopped 90% chocolate, and I have a mix of both. Now we're going to roll each 30-gram portion into balls because I want to show you what happens when you roll them into balls. Okay, I placed them on my baking tray and baked for 8 minutes, and you can see the cookies are smaller but thicker. So it really depends on what kind of cookie you prefer, and with this recipe you can choose. When the cookies come out of the oven, you gotta let them cool. They are really soft and they're going to crumble if you try to eat them straight out of the oven. Do note, I've listed the measurements for some flavors in the description box. As I mentioned earlier, the flour in here is half of the chicken flour blend and half of the almond flour blend. So I'm dying to taste to see if I can taste any chicken flour. So here we go. No chicken flour taste. They're very soft in the middle, I have to say. And they're a little bit crunchy on the sides. That's a good cookie. I tried to think of all the flavors that you might want to add to your cookies, you know, like peanut butter, what's the consistency going to turn out like, chocolate chips, sugar-free chocolate and jams and nuts. So if you have a favorite, please do let me know. I would love to try it as well. I hope I have convinced you that this is a fabulous recipe, and I hope you get to try it. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe and be well.
So, how much trouble do you suppose I'm going to be in if I take these orange chocolate chip cookies and destroy this entire array? Choices, choices. Oh well, we're going to go for it. Let's see. Anyways, if you like this video and you want to see another one just like it, click on that box there. If you haven't subscribed yet, click on that box there. What are you waiting for?